26. We are going to be starting our day with a masculine, feminine, and non-binary energy update. We are going to be starting with the headspace of masculine. We're going to be utilizing the Smith-Waite Centennial deck for the headspace. Woo! One card flying out. Two more, please. Hot cards, hot cards. Whoa, one more, please. One more. Come on. Thank you. All right, what do we have here? One of them's transverse, and it's the Lover's card that's transverse. So the first card we've got that's heads up is in the center is the Lover's card in its transverse. We've got the Knight of Swords in its reversal in combination with the Three of Wands in its reversal. Let's talk a little bit about this energy. So one of the things that we are identifying that's occurring right now is I feel like there is a lot of work that's happening every time I read right now, I just keep on hearing this energy is healing Aries. And why are we saying that the energy is healing Aries? Because it's healing the misconception on what strength is. Okay? It's the difference between, I keep on getting the same thing. It's the difference between warlike and warrior, right? Warriors are not warlike because warriors don't need to prove anything, right? Warriors do not feel like they need to find strength anywhere. Often when we become warrior energy, we become stewards of our strength, right? It's the proportionality by which we effectively apply it to things. We're careful with it, right? When you got a lot of strength, it's actually like it's not the fact that you're looking for more of it, but the ability of being able to utilize it in a way that feels proportional to circumstances or situations. And the difference with that is often, right? And it really, like, I need to point out, warlike energy really gets on the nerves of warrior energy, right? Because it comes into the space of feeling, right? Like there's the difference between competition by means of celebration, right? Competition by means of celebration is often the modality by which we energetically celebrate the ability to effectively do something, right? It's the modality by which we find an amplification of joy around it versus situations or circumstances that often feel oppositional, right? Or energetically conditional, right? And I like to point this out, like a lot of the energy that often works through that, right? There's almost like you'll often notice this with warrior energy. Got a distaste for it. It's ugly. It's ugly to see ugly competitiveness versus I keep on hearing like ugly competitiveness versus celebratory competition, right? Which is often, I like to point out, celebratory competition often feels like exhibition, right? It feels like the modality by which one is able to effectively feel the delight in terms of being able to do something that one finds a lot of energetic joy in, right? But the space by which another person feels hardened, or the space by which another person feels that modality of building into things, it can sometimes create that energetic force of pressure. So that modality or that experience by which we energetically work towards things is the effective modality by which we ourselves amplify and recognize the feeling of energetic like ferocity by which we bring into things, right? And there's a lot of that energy there, particularly with the Lover's card in its transverse here, right? And I like to point out the Lover's card in its transverse here is often speaking towards the space of working through the internal battle with ourselves, right? It's the observation of identifying and recognizing what it is that we ourselves are truly working through. And that work it's never easy, right? It's often the space by which we ourselves feel frustrated with our own energetic progress. But this is why, right? Like when we build into that context, then we are able to effectively identify and recognize what we feel like we are energetically prioritizing. And so I feel like there's something, I feel like there's something significant there. And the energetic significance that we see is the observation of being able to identify and recognize how we are working to change. And this is what's really important because I feel like a lot of that energy is building into the context of being able to see things from different perspectives, right? Because, and I need to point this out, what is fragility? Fragility at its core is the refusal to see things in a way that doesn't feel like it's stabilizing to the self, right? So there's a lot of that, and this is what I like about Jupiter coming into, like Jupiter going direct in Cancer is the conversation that articulates upon the the strength, the strength that is found via vulnerability, because the strength that is found via vulnerability is effectively the strength that we're able to articulate upon by being able to see things that we are vulnerable about, right? It's being able to see, it's like it's the expansion point by which one sees the self fully and clearly. And that energetic observation allows one to become stronger within the self, right? It's stabilizing. So that's a lot of the energy, right? I feel like that's a lot of the energy that appreciates seeing things in different ways, because when you are seeking to get stronger, then you see the ability to see things in different ways as the ability to be rocked in the best way possible, right? Because if there's something that you can see that makes one feel unstable, then that is effectively what you apply, right? Like that's what you apply your energetic pressure towards. Like that's what you put, like that's what you face. And that is when you face what makes you feel vulnerable, you become energetically fearless. But you don't do so externally, you do so internally, right? It's the observation that allows one to be able to do something in a more effective fashion. So this brings us to the feminine energy. And again, bearing in mind, this is not based on gender, but what one feels most aligned to. 3 cards for feminine. We're going to be utilizing the Aquarian Tarot right now for the headspace of feminine. 1, 2, 3. We've got here the Queen of Pentacles in its reversal, the Two of Cups in its reversal, as well as recognizing what it feels like to build into energy, right? It's the observation or the work that we do that allows us to be able to have energetic breakthroughs, right? And the thing about it is, and I keep on getting this, like the thing that often, and I want to say, like, there's something really beautiful that we see that's also happening right now for feminine as it relates to seeing how energetically toxic comparison is, right? The toxicity of comparison and competition that is the framework of feminine looking towards other feminine in that modality, right? That is the most toxic quality and situation that has ever been experienced by feminine. Because when one is working into pathwork of comparison, one cannot find one's own exquisite, right? It's the ability by which one feels like one is constantly trying to keep up with another that doesn't allow one to find one's energetic groove in the first place. So I feel like there's something really beautiful about this, because I keep on seeing that for a lot of the feminine energy, working into that context, that ability of feeling energetically adaptable, right? That ability of being able to navigate and articulate upon something, but not just navigating and articulating upon something, being able to effectively speak upon something in such a way by which one is able to effectively work more fundamentally. I just keep on seeing that for a lot of the energy doing that work, that observation is effectively coming through as it's coming through as a space of energetic viability. And I wanna point this out too. There's something really important there that's also happening as it relates to being able to identify and recognize what feels I just keep on seeing um what feels foundational in terms of being able to do something, but not just the competence in terms of being able to do something, but the space by which we effectively help each other along the way, right? And I think that there's something really lovely there because a lot of that work that we're effectively seeing has to do with the modality by which we recognize and identify what we're energetically working through. So that there's a lot of that, and I think that that's lovely too, because especially with the Queen of Pentacles in its reversal, with the Two of Cups in its reversal, like, and I want to point this out, right? There's something like there's something energetically painful in relationality to feminine often feeling the space of having to energetically circumvent energy that's still, like, I keep on hearing still in the unhealed state by which it feels like I keep hearing by which it feels like everything is an energetic battle, right? Like, there's a lot of that work that we see that the feminine is working through in terms of healing experiences by which they've experienced wounds from other feminine energy. Right? And that's painful, and I need to point this out. This is why we see that there's something important that's happening. Because you remember that over the last few days, we saw a lot of the masculine contemplating upon how hard it is to move forward with masculine energy that does not have the same desire to heal. This is the energetic pain point that a lot of the feminine carry in relationality to circumstances or situations of unhealed feminine that are still in the unhealed state by which they're constantly comparing themselves to the other instead of seeking the exquisite within the self that makes it energetically impossible to build intimacy with others. Because you can't build energetic intimacy in relationality to circumstances by which you constantly feel that there is a metric attached to it, right? Healthy relationships don't carry metrics. They're the space by which we understand and identify that we're working through things in different ways and that those differences are energetically exquisite. So I think that this is really interesting because there's a lot of this there's a lot of that internalization that we see that is happening right now. And a lot of it and we see that for a lot of the masculine work, it's recognizing the difference between unhealthy and healthy competition. And for feminine, it's the difference between cooperation, right? Versus, versus I keep on getting versus energetic, versus a lot of that, versus a lot of that tendency of I keep on getting the ostracization that comes from the unhealed state of trying to work into the identification of the self by which one feels that one is not complete, but one feels like one must prove that one is the energetic best of things, right? It's healing the perfection wound that is often implemented towards feminine, right? That almost makes the feminine feel like if they're not energetically perfect, they deserve something happening. That's what trauma says, right? What does trauma say? You better be perfect. Now, continuing to get clarification, moving towards a non binary energy, we're going to be utilizing the tarot of the divine to read into non binary right now. 3 cards, please. All right, what we got here? We've got the 7 of coins in its reversal. We've got the Queen of Cups in its reversal. And we have the 4 of Cups in its upright. So what are we effectively seeing there? Now, this is a continuation, and I want to point out we've got the Queen of Pentacles in its reversal in the energy with the energy that is in the feminine, and we've got a Queen of Cups in its reversal in the non-binary space. And so what we're effectively identifying there, and it's interesting because these cards are complicated. These cards are complicated to read. But the thing is, that's the thing about it. It's navigating the space by which we embrace our complication. And here's the thing here's the thing about it, right? Everything is energetically complicated, right? And the space by which we are heavily invested in our complication, welcome to healthy spirituality. Heavily invested in our complication is effectively the identification of identifying and working through something in terms because here's the thing, when we are heavily invested in our complication, we become very easy for others, right? We become very easy for others. It's like it's the most beautiful thing. But here's the thing about it. When you are in a trauma environment and you are heavily invested in your complication, energy will articulate that you're self-obsessed, right? That's what trauma articulates. When you're putting too much attention on yourself. You care too much about yourself, right? That's what trauma says. Isn't that interesting? Right? We're supposed to be self-obsessed in the best way possible because you have to understand self-obsession, right? And this is a different. Self-obsession is different than self-possession. Okay? And what is the difference between self-obsession versus self-possession? Self-obsession is being absolutely enamored with one's complication. The ability to effectively try to identify it is the work of a lifetime, and we'll never understand it. You'll never completely understand yourself, but it's interesting to be able to try, right? Because the more that you try, the easier you become in terms of the relationalities around the self, right? It's like the work you do inside that immediately allows for the outside possibilities to occur. What happens but in trauma environments, right? What does trauma environment say? Don't think you're thinking about yourself too much. You're so selfish, caring about yourself, caring about having your needs met. Wow, that's so selfish of you, right? It's only selfish if you are self-possessed. And what is self-possessed? Self-possessed is demanding things that you wouldn't eagerly give others, right? Self-possessed is the modality by which you effectively try to grab things that are effectively solely for the self without the conversation in relationality to the proportionality by which another person receives it. It's not selfish if it's selfless. It's not too much to ask if it's something that you would eagerly give another person. And I see that a lot of this energy has had to walk away from trauma environments. And what is the song that you will hear as you happily, as you do your best to move away from a situation that you know is not best for you? You're being very selfish right now, right? And it's the modality by which we often understand that those who articulate upon selfish, you can't say the word selfish until you explain what you're expecting, right? The modality by which you articulate and amplify upon what one is expecting calibrates for what the selfish is that another person claims to see. So the modality by which we effectively work through this, I feel like this is a lot of energy that has gotten very inured, right? They've gotten very inured to the word selfish being thrown at them because it's the energy that understands that the first thing you will hear when you leave a trauma environment is that word. Is that word. And this is a lot of the energy that works through, right? It works through the space by which one says, yes, I am like I am obsessed with the self healthfully and gladly, right? The modality by which we say that that is often the identification that we say we love ourselves, right? And trauma doesn't want us to love ourselves. Trauma will say, "Who do you think you are to love yourself like that?" Right? Like, who do you think you are? How dare you? How dare you love yourself like that? Continuing to get clarification. Continuing to get clarification, moving back into the heart space of masculine. 3 cards for masculine energy, please. And we're gonna be utilizing for masculine the Aquarian Tarot in the heart space. Okay, 3 cards. What do we got? We got the 5 of Pentacles in its upright. We've got the Hierophant, and we've got the King of Cups. So we've got the King and the Queen of Cups out right now. So there is parity that's occurring right now between masculine and non-binary headspace. We're going to talk about it. And it's working into the space of the emotions. And I keep on getting, I feel like this is a lot of this is a lot of the masculine, that the masculine is working on healing, that is focused on identifying and recognizing the feelings that are energetically filtered, right? And the feelings that are energetically filtered are being able to recognize and identify, right? It's the work that we do to recognize and identify what it is that we are effectively trying to do more of, is what I keep on seeing. And there's something, I feel like there's something really energetically important in relationality to doing that work. And I keep on getting that for a lot of the energy that is effectively working through things, the observation of being able to identify and recognize the the situation and circumstance by which we carry our emotions. I just keep on seeing that for a lot of the energy that is doing that work, it's building into the context of understanding what feelings are for, right? And the thing about it is, and here's the thing about it, the self, the chariot of the self should never be driven fully by the emotions, right? Because the emotions are effectively ephemeral, right? In the modality by which we recognize and identify that they're ever changing, right? Emotions and inclinations are often different things, right? And you'll notice this, like you'll often notice that when we're working into, right? Like when we're working into what we care about, right? We have to subdue our emotions. And the reason we talk about that is because when we energetically subdue our emotions, it's not the fact that we don't allow ourselves to feel them, right? But it's the space by which we teach patience to our emotions, right? Which it's like it's the context that says that when we're working towards something, it might not be something that we feel energetically inclined to at the moment, but the possibility of what lies beyond what we immediately feel is so much grander than what we're immediately experiencing, right? So it's building into, right? This is what we effectively identify, that we articulate upon as we work towards our highest self, right? Because what often happens, right? What often happens, right? When you have a manifestation goal, you've got that manifestation goal there, and then immediately, like immediately what appears? The manifestation goal arrives, and then immediately, what does the universe show you? Here's the hurdle, right? Here's the hurdle. Here's where the work is going to be. This is how you have to effectively work. And what happens about that is when we recognize and identify that, then we effectively build into the context of answering the call within the self, which is the observation and understanding of what it is that we effectively work towards. It's the amplification of understanding that feels energetically proportional towards what it is that we are actively working to energetically deliver upon. So I see that for a lot of the energy facilitating upon that work, that understanding, right? That functionality, that expression of emotionality, I feel like that's a lot of the energy that is potentially working towards getting better at articulating not just their emotions, but adding directions to the emotions. Because when we add directions to emotions, that is the song of us getting our energetic needs met. Because what happens, right? What happens when we hold the emotions in? Nobody else knows that we're energetically experiencing them. So it's often, and I keep on hearing the difference between the healthy masculine energy that works to express the emotions that allow for energetic collaboration versus the energy that often, what happens, you'll often see what happens with unhealed energy, right? The energy that is unhealed will often try to circumvent an emotional conversation in order to get the needs met, right? And that is often the sound of manipulation because what we're effectively doing to navigate the fear, this is what happens when we are too fearful of our emotions, another person experiences it as manipulation. The observation of being able to articulate to another how we feel that effectively amplifies and articulates what feels energetically real. So there's a lot of that modality by which we identify and recognize the work that is effectively applied towards circumstances and situations. And in that context, allows for the possibility of something to expand upon something that is even greater. So I feel like that's a lot of the energy that is looking at the ability to articulate from their emotions as the full force of bravery because that's the energy that says when I am brave and I convey my emotions, then I do not accidentally energetically manipulate. While for feminine energy, three cards for feminine, please, and we're going to be utilizing for feminine the tarot of the divine for the heart space of feminine. One, two, three. We've got the Knight of Coins in its reversal. We've got the Strength card in its reversal. And we also have the Six of Swords in its upright. So what we're effectively seeing in relationality to that is a lot of the work that we're identifying and recognizing there has to do with modalities or experiences by which the energy is effectively articulating upon working into the context of being able to energetically identify and recognize what it feels like to be able to effectively heal. So, for a lot of the energy doing that work, what we're identifying with that Knight of Coins and the Strength card and the Six of Swords and its upright are effectively situations and circumstances by which energy does not feel in the conversation. And I keep on getting this for a lot of the feminine energy, um, the ability to identify and recognize um, the difference, right? I keep on hearing this. Feminine energy becomes profoundly exhausted when it feels like one's own efforts, right? And I like to point this out. The modality by which another person takes another's efforts as their energetic own is what I keep on hearing. A lot of that energy that we potentially see there, this is a lot of the feminine that often works through the context by which they feel the sense by which they often feel like that they've had often frequently to be a nerd, right? And the word I keep on getting is a nerd, right? The modality by which feminine has often had to experience situations or circumstances by which the feminine has felt the need to lower their own energetic voice is what I keep on getting. And the thing about it is, and I want to describe that what we're effectively seeing here is what is articulated upon what we can identify as weaponized negligence. And what is weaponized negligence? Weaponized negligence is effectively the modality by which one articulates a need over and 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 again, and finally your voice gets so high and you become energetically shrill because you've been asking for something over and over and over again. And it's only at the moment that you scream that someone articulates that you are energetically hysterical. It's convenient, isn't it? It's convenient, right? The space by which the feminine effectively articulates upon the modality of the gentle art of asking, by which one asks over and over and over and over and over and over again. And the only thing that another person gravitates upon is the modality by which one effectively snaps, right? The modality by which another person just can't take something anymore. And then someone goes, "Oh, look, you're energetically hysterical," right? Like, it's like, and that is what we identify as weaponized negligence, right? Weaponized negligence is the modality by which all the other moments by which another person politely asked for something are erased in the wake of the volatility that comes by which another person simply cannot energetically take something anymore. And so this is a lot of the energy that has worked through the modality of having to experience circumstances or situations like that, right? The sound of energetic entitlement that often feels like it is deaf, right? Energetically deafened. But then in the moment by which one finally raises one's voice enough by which another person can hear, another person looks at the self aghast and going, "Oh, I can't believe that you're so reactive." Obviously, because it's the only way to effectively amplify change upon things. So the observation of being able to categorically witness and articulate this is often the space by which the feminine feels energetically relieved because it's that alleviation, right? That observation that it shouldn't require the space by which one feels that one must raise, right? One must not feel the space of having to turn up the heat to effectively allow something to function. It's not healthy for the nervous system, right? And then you wonder why you find feminine in such a frazzled state, right? You can't be surprised when you literally are ignoring feminine and then you see feminine frazzle because you're literally creating a space by which the only way the feminine can effectively have something move forward is if they pull themselves out of feminine and into energetic masculine energy. And then you're surprised in relationality of saying, why isn't feminine in the modality by which they feel energetically pleasant, right? This is a feminine that articulates that the desire to be in their Venus energy is there. But the only way you get feminine in their Venus energy is if you effectively attend to the feminine's needs correctly. It's not that hard. It's not that hard. It's really not that hard to understand, but you'd be energetically surprised. So we see a lot of that feminine energy working through that. And this is why the feminine understands why, right? Masculine is working into the context of learning how to subdue the energetic emotions, not allowing the emotions to guide. Feminine's utilizing the emotions as shield. Right? When you bring your emotions into places, how another person carries them tells you everything you need to know as to whether you're in a healthy space or not. So long as those emotions have healthy directions attached to them. Continuing, center cards for the heart space of non-binary right now. We're going to be utilizing the Smith-Waite Centennial deck for the heart space of non-binary. 3 cards, please. Bum, bum. We've got the High Priestess in its reversal, the 9 of Pentacles in its reversal, as well as the Strength card in its upright. So what are we effectively seeing in relationality to those cards? We've got a lot of this energy here, and I want to describe, geez. Um, you know, I feel like I see a lot of the energy here. It's there's a lot of energy like these are complicated cards in the heart space. This energy like strong like a strong heart is often a heart that feels like it's had to be tested over and over again. And honestly, it shouldn't have to be that way. And I feel like a lot of the energy here says that they've had to heal. They've had to heal. Like, and I like to point this out, the healing journey that one works towards, that articulates and says that the way that we build into something is so that others don't have to experience it, right? Like, that's a lot of the energy that says going through things so others don't have to, right? The shape and nature of the work that we do for each other is often, and I keep on getting it, the selfless act of loving the self will often feel like the most painful thing because it's the modality by which you build into that, like, it should not create pain for others in relationality to loving the self. But when another person hates themselves, when another person literally hates themselves, the amount of pain and hate that another person, the amount of hate that the trauma creates in another person, right? That when they see somebody simply simple act of loving the self, it feels like anathema. Another person's joy. Because as long as that joy, right? Joy is joy, there's joy everywhere. Joy is shared. There's always more joy, right? And the modality by which we amplify joy, I have got some good news for you. We don't, there is never, there is never a low stock at the joy store. And that's the nice thing about it. The more joy you create, then there's more joy to be shared. It's amazing. It's the coolest substance. It is the coolest substance that you will ever find, right? As long as you're willing to share it, right? As long as you're not being like, as long as you're not being greedy about it, like the joy is rampant. This is why we talk about joy being rampant. Joy is rampant because if you want, you can take some and you can make more with it, right? It's beautiful like that. But you'll be surprised when someone doesn't have any joy in their heart and they see somebody running around with joy and being like, "How dare you? Oh, like, "Ah, what's wrong with you? Oh, joy." You know what I mean? Because they've denied themselves of it, right? Because they're like, I don't feel that in here. That's I'm sorry, right? It's sad. But that's the thing about it. The acknowledgement of it is how you heal it, right? The moment you acknowledge and say, "It hurts because I'm lacking it," is exactly the minute that you can start to fix it. But and like the thing is you can't bring another person to that point. This is energy that learned long ago that you can't convince someone that they gotta fix their heart, right? You cannot heal somebody that does not desire to be healed. And often the space by which another person has to experience, and this is the energy, frequently feeling the full brunt of another person's hate for themselves projected upon them, realizing and recognizing at every moment that's what's occurring. This is why the energy says, I can care about things from a distance, right? That love does not require proximity. That the modality by which we can recognize the energetic complication of things can often articulate where we are and where we are positioned, where we choose to be, is what I keep on hearing. And that's the energy that often articulates, it says compassion comes in many forms. And that's a lot of the energy that articulates upon what that compassion is. Continuing towards the masculine energy, bottom of the under um, unconscious of masculine, and we're going to be utilizing mm, the tarot of the divine for the unconscious of masculine. Dun, dun, dun. We've got the star card in its upright, the page of cups in its reversal, and the four of coins in its upright. So, wow, this is really intense. I need to show you this because we've got the king of cups in its upright, We've got the Page of Cups in its reversal in the unconscious of masculine. This is masculine learning to forgive themselves for the times by which they weren't holding their vulnerability as prize, right? This is the masculine energy that is forgiving themselves for when they were not holding vulnerability as prize. Because the thing is, you cannot have a healthy relationship if you don't love the vulnerability that you find within the self, because you cannot seek, right? You'll often see this. You'll often see somebody who lacks the ability to love the vulnerability within, and then they seek that vulnerability in counterpart. And what does that relationship look like? Projection, 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 projection. Oh, good. I finally have someone here I can take out all of my hate on vulnerability on. Oh, yippee. Hooray for me. I finally have someone in my experience by which I will consciously or unconsciously take out all my feelings of the vulnerability that I hate within myself on them. It creates a paradox. It creates a fatal paradox in relationship when you hate vulnerability within the self, but then you aspire for it to be the highest quality that you seek in counterpart because you're not looking for a relationship. You're looking for a punching bag. You're not looking for a relationship. You're looking for a punching bag. You will take out all of those complicated feelings that you have about vulnerability on the energy you claim that their vulnerability is precious to you, right? How can it be precious to you if you don't hold it preciously, right? It's the falsity. It's the projection that you create of saying, oh, good, I've got a walking, talking effigy of all the vulnerability I hate within myself. And now I can treat it. I can treat it the way that I want to treat the vulnerability I hate within myself. So this is why we work to heal that vulnerability, because as we work to heal it, so too do we heal the relationships outside of ourselves. It starts from within. We have to face it. That's the only way it heals. It's the hardest work to do, but it's why it's the most important. While for feminine energy, bottom of the deck, our unconscious space of the feminine, and we'll be utilizing the Smith-Waite Centennial deck. 1, 2, 3. We've got the Chariot in its reversal, the 8 of Pentacles in its reversal, and the 10 of Pentacles in its upright. This is feminine energy that has just learned to walk away from energy that's still in comparison mode, right? Because all feminine, when feminine energy heals and feminine hears energy comparing them, all they hear is that's what I would prefer, right? That's what feminine hears. That's what I would prefer. That's what I would prefer. Go have it then. Right? It's the energy that goes, "Go knock yourself out," right? And that's the thing. It's a beautiful moment, right? It's a beautiful moment. It's a beautiful freeing moment, right? This is what we mean with if you love something, let it go, right? Because it's the modality by which you say, if that's what you prefer, who am I to stand in your way? Right? Who am I to stand in the way? Because often, and here's the thing you'll notice about it. Comparison energy is miserable. Misery is found in comparison, right? If you're constantly in the space of having something, right? The difference between holding something preciously and going like this, comparing it to everything else, we don't scrutinize the things that we're precious upon. How could you scrutinize something that you're precious upon, right? And the modality by which you lose something is the modality by which you say, "Oh, well that looks better," failing to recognize that appearances are energetically deceiving. And so the modality by which feminine energy, right? This is the modality by which feminine energy is working to heal their relationship to comparison, right? Not being in the space by which one feels energetically compared, and then it makes one feel, right? And then it makes one feel energetically prepared to do anything to prove the self. But the observation of another person putting you in that energetic position, it's curious. It's interesting. It's a fun way to try to get somebody to work harder for nothing, right? It's a fun way to get someone to work harder for nothing. So this is a lot of the energy of the feminine that instead of allowing that modality right? Instead of feeling incited by it, feeling perceptive to it. It's interesting. It's curious, right? It stands for a bit of inquiry. So that's a lot of the energy that effectively is working into the context of not trying to get into the space of trying to understand it, just recognizing it as unhealed behavior and moving beyond. Because when you compare things, you are objectifying them. When you compare things, you are objectifying them. And things and people are not objects, right? And so the modality by which another person starts comparing is literally the sign of someone that does not see someone as a person, but as an energetic object. And that's the energy that says it's not the feminine's job to fix that. It's the feminine's job to observe if another person perceives the world in that way. Continuing to get clarification, unconscious of non-binary, and we'll be utilizing the Aquarian tarot. 3 cards, please. We've got here, we've got the Queen of Cups in its upright. We got double Queen of Cups right now. We got double Queen of Cups in the non-binary space. This should get interesting. The 4 of Swords in its upright, as well as the 7 of Cups, right? This is the feminine. This is a lot of the non-binary energy, and I feel like it has a lot to do with the appreciation of the emotions, right? And this is the energy that takes full ownership of their emotions, right? And this is the energy it often realizes that the funny thing about being in a trauma space is someone will throw a compliment at you like it's an insult, right? They'll throw it like they'll like you'll never will you see someone in the throes of projection. Never will you see somebody in the throes of projection than when they will throw a compliment to you as an insult, right? You're so emotional. I know. I've got a good relationship with my emotions, right? You're so angry. I am upset because something is not okay, right? Why do you like yourself so much? Right? Because, like, why are you self obsessed? Because I work to heal so that I am a joy for myself and those around the self. Right? There's nothing more ridiculous. There's nothing more, it's like, never will you understand more the throes of being in the space of another person's projections, by which literally someone is throwing compliments to you like insults. And it's a modality by which you recognize that you literally have to say, exactly. Like, yeah, are you okay? No, okay, it's fine. But it's not fine. It's frustrating, right? It's frustrating. It shouldn't have to be that way, right? It's the space by which you recognize someone taking something out on you that they need to be working through internally. And that's the energy that says, even though they recognize it, they do not need to be the effigy of another person's shadow work. Right? Like it's not the space by which we can understand that it might be like great. It's great that somebody's potentially working through something, but we don't do that to each other. We don't require we don't and this is what we talk about. We're not here to save each other, which means we don't have to sit there and grin and bear another person working through their internal stuff externally. That's gross. That's gross. It's literally gross. It's gross to be working through internal stuff on another person, right? That's not the space by which we do that. It's the space by which we are energetically respective towards one another in relationality to how we feel and working towards the attainment of navigating the mutual ability of having the attainment of healthy needs that are met. And this is a lot of the energy that is very good at being able to articulate the difference between someone doing something in a state of joy versus in a state of trauma, right? And the hard part about it is it has to do with the modality by which you bring towards it, the space by which it feels like it heals and hurts. And this is the energy that knows very much that doesn't mean, that means different things mean different things to different people because it's not the what you carry, it's how you honor what you carry. And honoring what you carry is conveying the energetic significance of what you hold, not the fact you can't effectively do something. And this is why, again, individuals can do one thing in a relationship that can feel positive and supportive, and you can see somebody doing the same exact replication in another, and it's awful and terrible for this reason, because it's not about what you hold, it's what you bring to it that allows it to be something that's either healing or toxic. That's the modality by which it's not what you do, it's what you bring into it. And this is the energy that attenuates and articulates that very carefully, because it's often the energy that feels that others sometimes try to energetically like this is why we don't work towards a replication of things, because the replication of things become the energetic desecration point when another person says, "Oh, and this is why comparison's so toxic. Oh, they do it, so we should do it." And then being like, if you do something and it's not coming towards someone in the space of joy, there's nothing you can bring into something that'll fix it. It might make something energetically worse. It has to do with the energetic intention by which you arrive to things. So we see that that's a lot of the energy that often tries to attenuate upon that, rather than building into the space of saying, what do you need to fix it? You have to fix your heart space. Like, really, you can't, like, oh, maybe this will fix it. Nothing will fix it if you don't fix your heart space. Bottom of the deck on these readings, masculine energy, 10 of swords in its upright, right? 10 of swords in its upright. Here's the thing about it. 10 of swords in its upright is literally to me the Aries. Like that to me is the Aries card, right? Because this is Aries superpower, right? Aries superpower, boom, right back up. Now down, right back up. Down, right back up, right? It's the observation that when we are working towards things, your success. Aries, I need to point this out. There are two signs that believe this. Aries and Gemini literally do not believe that losing exists. Aries and Gemini, you go to an Aries and Gemini and be like, what have you lost? And an Aries and Gemini will look at you and be like, I've never lost anything. There are things I've chosen not to do, right? It's nothing is over. It's just a question of how many times one articulates the ability to stand back up, right? And this is a lot of the energy that works through that, right? Working through the modality and experience of not allowing the energetic devastation to get in the way of one's own ability to energetically work through things. And there's a lot of that, like, and I want to point this out though, for some of the energy, and this is the only thing about it, I need to point out the problem with a lot of these planets, and I need to stress this, the thing we have to be conscientious about, the only thing that gives me pause, okay, with a lot of this Aries energy, with Jupiter coming out of retrograde, is I'm going to say this right now, okay? We don't match energy, right? If somebody's carrying this energy in a more provocative way, we do not match energy. All you do when you match energy is prove to someone you lack integrity. When somebody's trying to try you, you remember who you are. Feminine energy, Aquarian tarot, 9 of wands. You're so like feminine being absolutely exhausted on the fact that energy sees feminine, right? Sees feminine scrambling and then saying, why aren't you in your feminine more? As if feminine could. Feminine cannot be in their feminine if they are in a constant state of hyper awareness. You want more feminine, you want to heal feminine energy? Create a space by which feminine does not need to be hyper aware all the time. Right? You want more feminine, you want more fun feminine energy? Create a space by which feminine does not need to be in high alert at every moment. Because the modality by which the feminine says that the eagerness and desire to be more in the feminine, a lot of the feminine would say, please, I would love that, but you have to create a space. You have to create the conditions by which feminine can be in their feminine. Feminine is a conditional state. Okay, it's a conditional space. Create the conditions. They're literally the first thing they talk about is a garden. The first thing they talk about is a garden. What is wrong with you guys? The first thing they talk about is a garden. Is it really that complicated? Create the conditions. Create the space by which feminine can feel safe to be in their feminine. It's not something that you can demand. It's not something you can demand. And the minute you start demanding it, the gates are closed. It's not that complicated. I can't. It's not, I don't know what else to say. Continuing, continuing for non-binary space, non-binary, bottom of the deck, Hierophant. Hierophant in its upright. Hierophant in its upright, which is just like, it's just the, and this is the, like, and here's the thing about it, like, for a lot of the non-binary energy right now, I feel like there's the modality or the experience by which having to effectively work through things in such a space by which one always have to be like in a logical headspace. I feel like for a lot of the energy right now, the exhaustiveness of having to explain to another the energetic complication of the self, it's like it's tiring. It's tiring, right? And having to feel like I keep on hearing the energy say, "I'm not here to fulfill your curiosity." Right? Like, this is the energy that is exhausted, of having to effectively feel the space of navigating others' quixoticness. And the thing about it is the space by which, but also I see the energy that effectively works towards something to a certain extent, because it's the observation of effectively identifying and recognizing that, when one gets it, one gets it. Right? That it doesn't require, like, it doesn't require inquiry. It doesn't require inquiry to be energetically respective, right? It doesn't require inquiry in order to be respective, right? You don't need to have a syllabus as to what you're energetically respective about. The modality by which you are effectively respective often allows you to be able to understand things more, right? You have to come towards others in a respective state. And this is energy that is very attenuated to noticing the difference between curious and respective. Those are different things. And this is the energy that says, this is energy that literally feels the necessity of recognizing the difference between energy because it is what allows them to feel energetically safe. That is our daily collective read for today. I want to thank you guys so much for being here and experiencing it. Just a reminder, if you would like to get on the list for today, I mean, sorry, just a reminder, that is our daily collective read for today. Thank you for being here and receiving it. Just a reminder, if you would like to book a private reading with me, please remember it's a two-part process. You have to book the reading, you have to pay for the reading. Please make sure you do both if you'd like to have that reading. Also, please remember that I will never, ever, 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 ever reach out to you for a private reading. I will never DM you. I will never PM you. I will never slide into your inbox and tell you that I have a very important message that only I can deliver. The only place you can book a reading with me is on my site, so I would encourage you to do it there. A couple of updates before we move into personal readings today. First and foremost, thank you to everybody who participated in our recent class on the sword cards in the court cards in the sword suit. Our next class will be held on Thursday, March 19th at 6 p.m. PST, 9 p.m. Eastern. We'll be continuing our studies into the tarot with a focus on the cup cards in the sword suit, in the cup cards in the sword suit, the court cards in the cup suite. Say that 10 times as fast as you can. We'll be studying the symbology of the cards, the history of the cards. I'll be working you guys through spread applications, how to read those cards in any direction they may appear in your own readings. I'll also be presenting you a unique spread that'll help you channel the messages of those cards into your own readings. And all you need to do, if you'd like to become a part of that class program, is head on over to my stack and become a paid subscriber. Your paid subscription to my stack is your ticket of entry into our live classes each and every month. You will also have access to, as a monthly subscriber, over 9 hours worth of material in the Tarot Church Library class archive. Now, it's not necessary to catch up. I'll be doing my best to give you an update on everything we've studied prior to beginning that next class, but the materials are there for you to receive as you're ready to receive them. You'll also have access to a complimentary one-on-one chat with me and the other students to ask any questions that you might like to ask in relation to anything we've learned and studied thus far. And if you become a founding member, all you need to do, you'll also have access to over 20 hours worth of material in the Tarot Church Library class archive, as well as a discounted rate on the full year's worth of classes, as well as the opportunity of receiving a complimentary mentorship class with me, where I will meet with you personally to assess where you are on your personal tarot journey and give you the best insights in terms of how to utilize those classes to the best of your advantage moving towards your tarot goals going forward. One of the things I tried to do in these classes was make them accessible to the absolute novice tarot reader as well as a seasoned reader. There's definitely something there for everyone. Don't let your lack of experience or your robust experience prevent you from joining us in these classes. And even if you don't become a paid subscriber to my stack, I would encourage you to follow me there to stay up to date on any new offerings or services. I also post my weekly newsletters there, which let you know about my in-person events, as well as my online live schedules, as well as my mystic meditation articles, which will give you updates on everything we've been experiencing in the cards in a bi-monthly period. I just wrote one recently on this full moon that we just navigated. You can find the information there. I also want to let you guys know that on top of my standard life path readings, I also offer mentorship classes. These, can be purchased on an individual level. These, I only take a very limited number of students for these classes as they are individuated for each individual's personal path and experience. Those classes can be purchased on an individual level or as a monthly class series, weekly or bi-weekly as your schedule permits. Also for my students seeking more consistent weekly tarot support, I'm very happy to offer weekly tarot insight packages. That is a package of 4 30-minute readings, again, weekly or biweekly, as your schedule permits, so that you can stay more consistent on your personal journey. I'm also very happy to offer dream interpretation readings, which can be purchased per dream or as a series. If you purchase a series, I would encourage you to keep a dream journal, as we will meet weekly or biweekly with that journal and utilize the tarot to understand the key themes and messages coming towards you in the dream space. I want to thank you guys so much for being here and receiving these messages, and we will do this again tomorrow. That is our daily collective read for today.